Why do you procrastinate? Because you're a bitch. Video's over. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, procrastination is something that genuinely hits every single one of us, bro. And I so freaking get it, because for years and years and years, I procrastinated basically my whole entire life, right? And it just sucks because it genuinely is like this thing that puts you in a spiral where you avoid doing something, and then because you're avoiding doing it, it makes you not want to do it even more. And because you're not doing it even more, it makes you avoid it even more. And it's just this constant cycle, right? And again, for you, you're probably somebody who has so much ambition. You're somebody who has been trying to set out for goals for so long, probably freaking years, right? Because I was in the same boat too, where I've been wanting to set out for goals for years and years and years. And it took me so long to finally overcome this rut of procrastination and finally start just getting things done, right? You're probably experiencing the same thing too, where you cannot set your foot on the gas long enough to start seeing actual consistent goals in your life, because every single time you start something, you immediately fall off, right? Procrastination comes in, or something else comes in that puts you right back in that rut. And so you're just stuck being in this cycle where it's kind of to the point where you don't even trust yourself anymore, right? Where you want to start something new, and immediately there's like that voice in your head that's like, man, what's the point of starting this when I'm just gonna fall off it in like the next couple of months or so, or like maybe even like the next couple of days or weeks, right? Procrastination is something that hits all of us, and it's the worst thing ever, and it freaking sucks. And the thing about it is that nowadays there's not even genuine good advice when it comes to overcoming procrastination, because we live in such a hustle culture where it's so just go, be disciplined, do this, have motivation, right? Where the advice that's out there doesn't actually help you tackle procrastination, right? Because a lot of the times they'll just tell you, do this life hack, do that routine, do this, do that to overcome procrastination. And so this is why this video specifically is not going to be one of those videos, because when I was learning to overcome this, I was tired of seeing those videos, because it's like they truly didn't understand. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm somebody where like, I'm a very lazy person, right? I'm a very lazy person, and a simple hack like do this discipline tactic, it wasn't gonna work. It never worked, right? So why do I think it's gonna work again, right? I needed something new. I needed something different. And so the whole hustle culture advice of just lock in, bro, just lock in, just do this, right? That's not helping, and it's never helped before, right? It's much more complicated than just locking in. And so that's why this video isn't going to be a typical do this life hack to overcome procrastination, right? We need to get down to the bottom of it. And so we first need to know what we are specifically procrastinating on, because you didn't procrastinate waking up this morning. Maybe you did, right? But you didn't procrastinate eating lunch, or you didn't procrastinate with driving yourself to work. You didn't procrastinate on this or that, right? There are things in life that we do not procrastinate on. So we need to distinguish what it is that we are actually procrastinating on. What are you actually procrastinating on? What are you specifically not doing right now? Because once we can get down to the bottom of it, what we're specifically procrastinating on is going to be hard just having this general label of I'm procrastinating, right? Procrastinating is just one big label, and we need to like pop that balloon and see which specific area it is that we're actually procrastinating on. I saw this video of this guy getting coached, and he was talking about how he was procrastinating, and the coach on the session basically helped him get to what specifically he was procrastinating on. And the guy basically was like, oh, he's specifically procrastinating on creating his website. Basically just knowing what we're procrastinating on, because once we're aware of what it is that we need to actually fix, that's when we can do the fixing. If we're not aware about what we need to fix, it's going to be much harder to try to fix this big, broad, general statement that we are labeling ourselves, right? So yes, first we need to know what we're procrastinating on, and then we need to understand that the way I like to look at it is that procrastination is just a failure in self-regulation. And what I mean by this is that self-regulation, basically just regulating ourselves and our emotions. Our body, when we have fear about something, when there's fear on some type of thing that we're encountering, we get in a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so when there's a task ahead of us that we need to complete, our body specifically gets in that flight and freeze mode, where we either run away from it or we just completely freeze up, right? And if we don't know how to regulate that response, we're going to constantly be in that flight or freeze mode. And so I like to think that, again, procrastination is a failure in that self-regulation of those two trigger responses. And so that's an important note, because the reason why a lot of us do procrastinate is because as self-regulation, we're not able to self-regulate those certain trigger responses, and that our impulse to delay is stronger than our impulse to act because of the failure of self-regulation within those two emotional responses. And so when this happens, it's very important that you do not beat yourself up, right? A lot of us, we're like, oh my God, I'm procrastinating, and then we start beating ourselves up with negative emotions and negative thoughts. But don't do that, because it'll only put you more into a spiral. You'll only get deeper into the rabbit hole. And when we do that, we start being in our heads of what we need to be doing, who we should be, who this and who that. That's never worked before. How many times have you done that in your life, where you start telling yourself what you need to do, how you need to be, what you should be doing, all these type of things? How many times have you told yourself that, and you're still going through that till this day? You're still procrastinating, right? How many times have you done that? It's clearly not working. And so we need to learn how to just stop doing that, because it's clearly just not helping us. To get to the actual cause of why we're procrastinating, how do we actually act, right? What is it that we need to do that's actually going to help us overcome procrastination? The biggest reason why you're still procrastinating is because you're skipping all the inner work and trying to replace it with exterior solutions. So again, you're trying to fix inner issues with exterior solutions, basically meaning that a lot of the times when we're overcoming procrastination, again, there's a bunch of like, do this tip, do that tip, do this life hack, do that habit, right? To overcome our procrastination. But the genuine truth is that a lot of our procrastination comes from within. It comes from those stories that we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we hold within ourselves, right? Certain beliefs and attitudes and all these different types of things. Getting out of this rut of procrastination requires a lot of inner work within childhood trauma, within our beliefs, our stories. A lot of it is inner, because again, you tried fixing it with outer solutions, but you're still procrastinating till this day, right? That's why I'm saying things like this life hack, that little tip outside, right? All these exterior habits are never going to get down to the very deep root cause of why you're still procrastinating, right? Because procrastination, if we want to overcome it, we have to do a lot of inner work. And I know you guys don't want to hear this. I know you're probably like, man, what is this guy talking about? So, man, just hurry up and give me some life hack, right? A lot of you guys probably kicked off this video because you're probably somebody who just wants a quick fix, right? And that's why you're still a little bitch. That's why you're still fucking procrastinating till this day. It's not a quick fix. If you genuinely want to change your life, and you genuinely want to change how you view your work and how you act on things and certain habits and things like that, it requires a lot of inner work. Shadow work, identity shifting, just all these different things that are actually going to change who you are within, and that's going to start showing in your outer world. So yes, we need to break those inner judgments that we have about ourselves. We need to break those old beliefs and identities that we have about ourselves, because that is what's truly holding us back. So until we learn to let go of those things, we're never going to actually learn how to overcome procrastination in our everyday lives, right? And so you're probably wondering, how do we actually overcome it, right? How do we let go of those old beliefs, those old things in our lives? And I'm gonna be honest, bro, I have a bunch of videos on my channel that do talk about how to let go of those old beliefs, those old emotions, and how to form a new self and new self-worth, right? Until we learn how to let those go, it will always hold us back in our everyday lives, and we will continue to procrastinate. So RNH Hunnid, stay Hunnid with yourself.